Amid the cold, majestic walls of Buckingham Palace, a storm is silently brewing. Not from the outside, but right in the heart of the British royal family, a place that should have been a sanctuary of absolute peace. According to several insider sources, King Charles III could not contain his fury and loudly berated Queen Camilla right in the middle of the palace. The reason? A ring, but not just any ring. It was a family heirloom engraved with the king's name, worn by him since the 1970s. A piece not only of material value, but also deeply tied to history, memories, and royal identity. And now it has mysteriously vanished. No one else but Camilla, the person closest to the king, has become the first name under suspicion. A relationship once thought to be solid after the coronation is now teetering on the brink of collapse. Could the ring merely be the final straw in a series of long-simmering tensions? Or is there a shocking secret behind its disappearance that the royal family is desperately trying to conceal? Did Camilla truly take the ring? And if so, in the name one. That is the central question in an incident currently shaking the inner workings of the British royal family. But before delving into the details of the fierce confrontation between King Charles III and Queen Camilla at Buckingham Palace, it is essential to take a broader look at the underlying cracks that have been quietly festering between these two powerful figures for some time. It all began when Camilla stepped into the role of Queen Consort. Initially, her position was viewed by the public and the royals as a traditional supporting role, standing beside the king, performing symbolic duties, and upholding the image of a loyal spouse. However, over time, that role began to shift, quietly but noticeably. Camilla's influence grew. She appeared independently at public events, spoke in interviews without prior approval from King Charles or senior palace advisors, and some observers noted that she was gradually stepping beyond the traditional mold of a consort, a role historically built on close coordination with the monarch. This growing autonomy raised concerns among some within royal circles. It not only disrupted long-standing protocols, but also posed a question. Is Camilla simply seeking her own voice, or quietly preparing for a far more powerful position? However, it was an official change in her status that sent ripples throughout the royal household and beyond. The royal website, traditionally a reflection of the monarchy's ranks and roles, quietly updated Camilla's title from Queen Consort to simply Queen. At first glance, this might seem like a subtle shift, a mere tweak in phrasing. But in the delicate world of royal protocol, this seemingly minor change carried significant implications. The alteration was not without controversy, and reports suggest it met with some resistance. Chief among those who may have had reservations about the change was none other than King Charles himself. According to sources close to the palace, while Charles supported Camilla's increasing presence in public life, he was reportedly not entirely comfortable with the shift in her title. This unease was particularly notable given that his mother, the late Queen Elizabeth II, had publicly expressed her wishes before her passing. Camilla was to hold the title of Queen Consort. Despite this clear directive, it is believed that Charles may have ultimately agreed to Camilla being styled simply as Queen, a symbolic but significant departure that some saw as going against his mother's explicit intentions. Queen Elizabeth had upheld the title of Queen Consort as a marker of royal tradition, reflecting a supporting role for royal spouses. Her public statement was widely regarded as a carefully considered effort to preserve that hierarchy within the monarchy. However, Camilla's growing autonomy was not limited to ceremonial roles. She began making decisions that extended into the operational aspects of the royal family, particularly regarding the management of King Charles's schedule and public engagements. Reports emerged that Camilla had taken it upon herself to cancel some of the king's scheduled appointments, reasoning that they did not align with her personal interests or the direction she felt the royal family should pursue. These actions were seen as both a display of her increasing confidence and a sign that she was more than just a passive figurehead. When questioned by aides and royal staff about her decisions, Camilla's response was unapologetic. "It will do him no good. The Queen knows best," she is reported to have said, a statement that spoke volumes about her belief in her own judgment and her expanding role within the monarchy. To some, this was an expression of self-assurance. To others, it was a sign of overreach, an indication that she had begun making decisions without consulting the king. Camilla's actions, particularly her disregard for Charles's wishes, eventually led to an event that left the king stunned. an interview she granted without consulting him, an interview that completely caught Charles off guard. In a move that sent shockwaves through the royal family and left the monarchy reeling, Camilla agreed to a private and highly unexpected interview that would forever alter the trajectory of her role within the royal institution. The content of the interview was not only shocking, it was outright controversial. In it, Camilla openly discussed her vision for the future of the monarchy, revealing personal plans that had never been shared publicly, and more critically, had never been discussed with King Charles. The interview, intended as a candid and insightful look into Camilla's perspective, quickly spiraled into a storm of intrigue and tension. As she spoke about the monarchy's future, Camilla outlined bold strategies and initiatives she envisioned for the royal family. While her ambitions were undoubtedly grand, what particularly struck a nerve with those closest to the crown was her revelation of details about plans Charles had shared with her in private, plans he had entrusted to her, assuming they would remain confidential. Until now, the betrayal stung all the more because Charles had always relied on Camilla as a confidant. Hearing the intimate details of their private conversations exposed so publicly was a gut punch to the king. What was meant to be a strategic behind-the-scenes discussion about the monarchy's future had now become a public spectacle for the world to see. Camilla's openness about these personal discussions left Charles feeling deeply humiliated and betrayed. It was as though his trust had been shattered, not just by a spouse, but by someone he thought he could rely on more than anyone. For Charles, the betrayal was the final straw. He had always been a man who valued discretion and privacy, and this public airing of their most intimate conversations marked a breaking point. The king had long been patient with the complexities of his marriage, but this breach of trust forced him to confront a painful reality he could no longer ignore: the widening rift between him and Camilla. It was time to face her directly and hold her accountable for her actions. The future of their relationship and the monarchy itself now hung in the balance. The explosive showdown, trust shattered in the palace. The morning after Camilla's bombshell interview, a palpable tension enveloped Buckingham Palace. Camilla had been notably absent from the palace the previous evening, which was highly unusual, especially given the gravity of the situation. As the hours passed, Charles, already a man under immense pressure, was visibly agitated. Sources close to the king described him pacing frantically around the royal residence. The palace's quiet was disrupted by his erratic movements, and it was clear to onlookers that something had gone terribly wrong. Charles had demanded Camilla's immediate return to the palace after learning of her interview's contents. Insiders reported that his requests were met with silence, and he received no response from his wife. The situation escalated when Charles was spotted in the palace grounds, either awaiting her return or firing off a series of frustrated messages to reach her. The king's distress was evident. This was not the calm, composed monarch the public knew. This was a man who felt betrayed and isolated, unable to find solace in his most trusted confidant. When Camilla finally arrived at the palace the next morning, her demeanor was nothing short of cold and dismissive. She reportedly walked past the royal staff with her head held high, deliberately ignoring their greetings. The air was thick with anticipation as she made her way to the meeting room where Charles awaited her. She entered with an unsettling confidence, her eyes steely, her posture rigid. But the moment she crossed the threshold, it was clear a storm was about to break. Charles, standing in the center of the room, locked eyes with her. His face was a mask of barely contained fury. As soon as their eyes met, he launched into it. His voice trembled, something about how the monarchy wasn't a stage for personal agendas, how she couldn't just say whatever she pleased without considering the consequences, and then the part that stuck with everyone: how she had broken his trust. But Camilla showed no remorse. If anything, people said she looked even more confident, standing tall and unfazed. She fired back, saying she saw nothing wrong with what she'd done, that she was the queen and had every right to speak her mind. Her words stung Charles like a slap to the face, but it was clear this wasn't just about her public statements. There was something deeper, something that had been simmering beneath the surface far longer than either of them realized. In that charged moment, the king finally snapped, unleashing a rage that had been building inside him for too long. His voice, now quaking with emotion, echoed through the room. "Who stole the king's jewel? Who stole my ring?" His words cut through the tension like a knife, He looked at her with eyes full of accusation, as if the answer was painfully obvious. The room fell silent. The ring Charles referred to was no ordinary piece of jewelry. It was the king's personal insignia, a symbol of his power, lineage, and authority. This wasn't just a treasured possession. It was a priceless artifact of profound historical significance. Losing it, or worse, having it stolen, was a devastating blow, not only to the king's personal life, but to the monarchy itself. The legacy of King Charles's pinky ring, a royal heirloom steeped in history. King Charles's pinky ring is far more than a mere accessory. It is a symbol of royal legacy, personal style, and a deep familial bond spanning multiple generations. First introduced into his public life in the 1970s, the signet ring has become one of the most recognizable pieces of his royal attire, representing both his personal identity and his enduring connection to the monarchy. But this ring carries far greater significance than its surface suggests. Its design and materials reflect centuries of tradition, making it an irreplaceable artifact, one that embodies the weight of royal heritage, and for Charles, a link to both his past and future. Crafted from Welsh gold, a material traditionally used for royal jewelry in keeping with the long-standing customs of the British monarchy, the ring weighs approximately 20 grams. It is designed with the intricate crest of the Prince of Wales, a title now passed to Charles's eldest son, Prince William. Yet, despite its outward appearance as a symbol of royal grandeur, the ring also carries a darker undertone. Its deep emotional significance to Charles makes its loss a crushing blow, one that would send shockwaves through both his personal life and the monarchy. The ring is not just a symbol, it is a connection to his heritage, his father, and his role as the future king. Its loss would sever a bond to the past, a history Charles has always held dear, but which has grown increasingly fragile amid modern pressures. The story behind the ring is as much about royal tradition as it is a reflection of personal history. It was first worn by Prince Philip, Charles's father, who inherited it from his own father, Prince Andrew of Greece and Denmark. The tradition of passing down the ring has been upheld through 3 generations, further solidifying its status as a royal heirloom. For Prince Philip, it was a constant reminder of his family's noble origins, just as it has been for Charles. Though worn on the pinky finger, the ring has always been a potent symbol of the wearer's tie to the British royal family, binding each generation to the others in a deeply personal and tangible way. For Prince William, now the Prince of Wales, the ring carries even greater weight. It stands as a physical link between father and son, between the future and the past. As William moves closer to assuming the throne's responsibilities, he may one day wear the same ring, extending its legacy into the next generation. The ring's history is not just a connection to Charles's immediate family, but a bridge to monarchs of the past, making its loss all the more painful. The royal search, the mysterious disappearance of the ring. Following King Charles's long-awaited coronation, an unsettling incident swiftly unfolded behind Buckingham Palace's grand walls. The world had watched in awe as Charles was crowned king, but beneath the pomp and ceremony, a crisis was quietly brewing. In the aftermath of this historic event, a startling discovery was made. The king's prized pinky ring had vanished. As news of the disappearance spread, an air of disbelief and concern descended over the royal household. King Charles, typically composed and dignified in public, was visibly shaken by the loss. Reports quickly surfaced that he had been in a near panic, unable to fathom how such a vital object could have slipped from his possession. The emotional weight of this situation seemed to take a toll on the king, now grappling with a crisis of confidence in both his personal life and royal duties. Behind palace doors, the royal household sprang into action. A thorough search was immediately launched, with palace staff and security personnel combing every inch of the sprawling estate. Days passed with little progress, but the pressure mounted. Secretive meetings were held, and rumors began to swirl. Theories about the ring's disappearance ran rampant. Some suggested it might have been sold, either by an opportunistic royal insider or someone with access to the king's private quarters. Others whispered that it could have been stolen, perhaps by someone close to the royal family exploiting the situation for personal gain. Despite intense efforts to recover this lost piece of royal history, one person appeared indifferent to the crisis: Camilla, the Queen. She seemed unbothered, continuing her usual duties, and making significant decisions without acknowledging the gravity of the missing ring. While Charles was consumed by the mystery, Camilla reportedly pressed forward with her own agenda, disregarding the toll it was taking on her husband. She made bold, unilateral moves in state matters, acting as if the ring's disappearance were a minor inconvenience. But it wasn't until her recent interview that the situation reached a boiling point. The interview, originally meant to showcase their unity and bolster the monarchy's public image, proved anything but harmonious. During the exchange, Camilla's behavior and words crossed a line, further straining their fragile relationship. The king, already on edge over the missing ring, was left fuming, leading to a heated confrontation behind closed doors. It was evident that the ring's disappearance had pushed them both to their breaking points, exposing fissures in their partnership that had long simmered beneath the surface. Revisiting the past, the deep-seated tensions between Charles and Camilla. The relationship between King Charles and Queen Camilla is one fraught with tension, history, and controversy. A royal saga steeped in emotion that has unfolded under the public's intense scrutiny for decades. At its core lies Camilla's painful and prolonged vilification by the media, which cast her as the chief villain in the royal drama entangling Charles, his first wife Princess Diana, and the British monarchy itself. For years, tabloids and the press portrayed Camilla as the woman who tore apart an already fragile royal marriage. Relentless coverage often painted her as the architect of Diana's suffering, casting shadows of betrayal and scandal over her name. As a result, Camilla became a target of public scorn, and the press's cruelty took a heavy toll on her personal life. Every move, every appearance was dissected under a magnifying glass, and the constant vilification became a profound source of pain for the woman once so close to Charles. Throughout this period, insiders revealed that Camilla felt deeply isolated and abandoned by the very person she believed to be her greatest ally, Charles himself. Reports from those close to the couple suggest Camilla has long harbored a sense of betrayal, convinced that Charles did not do enough to shield her from the media's relentless onslaught. She had hoped he would stand by her more fiercely, leveraging his position and influence to defend her honor. Instead, she often felt like a passive bystander in a drama beyond her control. To Camilla, it seemed as though Charles, the man she loved, failed to protect her from the fallout of their relationship with Diana, leaving her to bear the full brunt of public outrage. These unresolved wounds from that era have never truly healed. Despite their eventual marriage and Camilla's ascent to Queen Consort, the lingering bitterness and hurt from the past remain a silent undercurrent in their relationship. Many royal observers suggest that, while their public facade may have appeared strong, behind closed doors, the scars of their shared history, particularly Camilla's sense of abandonment and Charles's guilt over the past, have never been fully addressed. With the weight of these past grievances still simmering beneath the surface, royal watchers began to predict that a moment would come when these tensions would reach a breaking point. It was no longer a question of if the issues between Charles and Camilla would resurface, but when. Beyond that, Camilla's rising power had also become a source of conflict between them. Current power struggles and tensions. In recent months, whispers and rumors have begun circulating within royal circles, fueling intense speculation about Camilla's growing influence. Her actions, particularly her recent interview, where she voiced her views on royal matters with uncharacteristic candor, have been interpreted by some as a sign that she is no longer content with a secondary role. This has left many wondering if she is asserting her authority and preparing for an even more powerful position within the monarchy. Several high-profile decisions, bypassing traditional royal protocols, have made it clear that she is not merely a figurehead. Some argue she is shaping the royal agenda with increasing independence. However, this growing narrative around her influence has not gone unnoticed by King Charles. Following his wife's rising prominence, reports suggest the monarch has been striving to reassert his own authority. Sources close to the palace say Charles, feeling increasingly sidelined, has been actively working to regain control over the royal household and remind the public of his role as head of state. One of the most dramatic moments in this power struggle came when Charles reportedly demanded the return of his pinky ring amid the interview saga. This demand sparked a tense confrontation between the couple, one that insiders describe as nothing short of explosive. The confrontation that changed everything. As the confrontation escalated, Charles wasted no time accusing Camilla. His voice thick with frustration, He claimed to have proof she had taken the missing ring, which he had searched for in vain. His demand was unequivocal. He wanted it returned immediately. Camilla remained silent for a moment, her eyes narrowing as she processed his words. She didn't respond right away, her expression unreadable as she seemed to weigh her options. Then, with a defiance that stunned Charles, Camilla calmly replied, "What belongs to the king is mine." Her words were cold, calculated, and brimming with a sense of ownership and control that caught Charles off guard. Without hesitation, she reached into her purse, pulled out the ring, and placed it on the table before him. Seeing it so effortlessly returned only fueled Charles's fury further. His frustration reached a boiling point, and unable to restrain himself, Charles exploded. "You are done!" he screamed. There was no mistaking the anger in his voice. It was a declaration, a moment of reckoning. His face flushed with a mix of betrayal and rage, as if he felt not only personally wronged, but deeply disrespected by the woman who had once stood by him through the most turbulent times. Yet, instead of retaliating in kind, Camilla reportedly turned on her heel and walked out of the room, leaving Charles staring after her in stunned silence. Royal insiders, sources of Consort, long attuned to the dynamics between the couple, now believe the rift between them has reached a breaking point. Once marked by a fragile understanding, their relationship appears to have fractured irreparably. What really happened behind closed doors? As rumors swirl about Queen Camilla's possible motives for the disappearance of the heirloom ring, royal observers have begun piecing together a dramatic picture of what might have transpired within Buckingham Palace's walls. According to some sources close to the couple, Camilla had long shown a particular interest in the ring, a piece not only of symbolic royal value but also of deep personal significance. She is said to have repeatedly requested possession of it, viewing it as recognition of her growing role within the monarchy. However, King Charles reportedly refused outright. To him, the ring was more than a treasure. It was part of his identity and personal memories, something not easily relinquished, even to his spouse. This persistent refusal may have driven Camilla to take unilateral action, taking the ring herself. If true, this was no impulsive act but a silent statement that her influence and role no longer hinged on the king's permission. Yet, that very act also crossed a fragile line between power and trust. The ring, a seemingly inanimate symbol, has now become the catalyst for an emotional explosion, shattering the delicate balance in Charles and Camilla's relationship. The fallout? Currently, Queen Camilla is said to have temporarily withdrawn from royal duties, while the palace remains cloaked in absolute silence. The question now is not just, will Camilla return, but can this royal marriage survive the shock? And could a small symbol like the ring shake an entire institution? The future of the British monarchy stands at a turbulent crossroads, and what happens next will be watched closely by the world. In a different development, Meghan Markle officially launched her As Ever products on her personal website on April 2nd. The items for sale included wildflower honey, $28, decorative flower sprinkles, $15, crepe mix, $14, tea, $12, and several other products previously featured on her reality TV show With Love, Meghan. In a press release, As Ever described the product line as offering a glimpse into Meghan's approach to everyday life. It is inspired by her long-standing love for cooking, entertaining, and homemaking. Despite sparking controversy, all of Meghan's items sold out in less than an hour. Some unlucky customers received notifications that the wildflower honey was out of stock after their payments had already been processed. The excitement generated a massive influx of traffic to the website that even we couldn't anticipate. Everything sold out in just 1 hour. Orders came in so quickly that the website couldn't keep up. Unfortunately, the limited edition honey you purchased is already sold out. We are working to restock inventory, read an email from As Ever shared on social media. In addition to refunds, the company stated it would send affected customers a complimentary gift of their choice as a gesture of gratitude for their understanding. The email also included a personal message from the Duchess of Sussex herself. "Dear friend, this week has been a whirlwind. Thank you so much for your support. It truly means a lot to me. I'm so sorry to hear about what happened with your order. Due to overwhelming demand, we couldn't fulfill your limited edition honey. Please know that the team has worked incredibly hard across every department and is also saddened to learn of this situation. At the end of the message, Meghan revealed that those who missed out would receive an apology gift via mail. This marks a promising start for Meghan as she builds her lifestyle brand. However, the current frenzy doesn't necessarily indicate long-term success for the beauty born in 1981. The surge in demand could stem from the Meghan effect. Her fame drives curiosity about the products she sells. Once that curiosity fades, will the brand founded by the Duchess of Sussex remain competitive enough? The fear of the British royal family. While Meghan appears enthusiastic about her business venture, Duncan Larcombe, former royal editor of The Sun, told Fox News Digital that the success of the former Suits actress is precisely what the British royal family has been concerned about from the start. This shows Meghan is capitalizing on her fame, even leveraging her children to boost her social media presence and sell products. This is exactly what the royal family feared would happen. It'll take a few weeks before we really know if she's hit the jackpot. She might have succeeded, but I think the key concern here is that she's making money off her fame based on her connection to the British royal family, Larcombe analyzed. This argument is entirely plausible. After Harry and Meghan left the UK in 2020, the late Queen Elizabeth barred them from developing the Sussex royal brand. She also rejected Harry's proposal to be half in, half out, balancing royal duties while pursuing independent careers. Had she not been firm in this case, the Sussexes might have exploited their royal titles for personal gain, potentially damaging the dignified, noble image of the Windsor dynasty. British broadcaster and photographer Helena Chard also accused Meghan of exploiting her ties to the royal family and her two children with Harry, Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet, to make a quick profit. It seems rather trivial, though it's certainly brought Meghan success. The product prices aren't exorbitant. Could it be that her fans are chasing the Meghan effect? However, are the prices competitive enough, and are the products tasty enough to sustain consistent sales? Meghan isn't a trained chef, nor can she yet be called a professional food connoisseur, Chard commented. Prince Harry is also said to disapprove of Meghan sharing photos of their children on social media. Matt Wilkinson, royal editor at The Sun, shared on a Right Royal podcast that Harry doesn't want strangers seeing his kids or photographers snapping their pictures. According to Wilkinson, the red-headed prince is haunted by the thought of paparazzi lurking to capture images of the royal children whenever they leave their Montecito, California home. Meghan, on the other hand, feels differently. Having grown up in California, she has expressed a desire for a California-style lifestyle, taking the kids to the beach, out to play, and doing various activities. She doesn't want to hide them from the world. Wilkinson asserted that Meghan uses their children to build her personal brand as a mother and homemaker. Royal experts believe Prince Harry is unhappy with his wife's approach. Representatives for Harry, Meghan, and the British royal family have not commented on these reports. Meghan Markle, not wearing earrings, sparks a new jewelry trend. Though no longer officially titled the Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle's fashion sense, married to Prince Harry, continues to captivate and earn high praise from the public.